I truly didn't think we would ever get here, but apparently we did. The DCEU is officially over. Hello, my name is Montero, and thank you for joining me on my journey to watch every TV show and every movie ever created. Not really, but we are going to get close. Yes, the DCEU is officially kaput, and with an officially kaput universe comes an official ranking of the universe. And so today we are going to rank all, and I put all in quotations because it's not necessarily all. We are excluding Zack Snyder's Josstice League from the mix just because I did technically see this, but I took a lot too much of something, and we'll just say that I don't remember the experience at all. So one day I will watch it, one day, but it is 4 hours long, so you know, it's really honestly gonna be one day. But we are gonna do all other 15 movies. So I broke these up into 3 sections for you. The unwatchable section, which is numbers 15 all the way to number 8. Then we have the it's not good, but I liked it section, which there's only 2, I believe. It's the 7 through 6. And then we have my favorite 5, which of course is the 5 remaining ones. Starting off our list in number 15 is Josstice League. And oof, man, my goodness, what an awful movie. I saw this one back in college, and I don't really remember where it was available, but it was available at some point, and I said, I'm gonna watch it. And I couldn't believe it. It was so awful that I actually paid to rent it on YouTube because it was the cheapest place I could find, just to verify that it was the correct thing, because I just couldn't believe it was this bad. It's unbelievable. Like, Josstice League is one of the worst movies ever to be created. It is messy. I'm not even gonna get to the behind the scenes drama here because it's just really awful. You can do your own research. It's just really bad. So this movie, not only is the product itself bad, but everything that has made it was also pretty bad. But all I can say is that I feel the worst for Gal Gadot and Ray Fisher. In any case, this movie gets a big fat 1. Coming in at number 14 is Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. And oh my goodness, this movie, I give this movie a 2.5. And the only reason that is because it's Birds of Prey in name only. The evolution of what this movie was allegedly supposed to be versus what it has become is also insanely uncomfortable once you figure out what the story plot was supposed to be. I'm not gonna get into those just because it is quite disgusting. Basically, they further ruined Cassandra Cain, which you would think would be impossible considering that they already ruined Cassandra Cain in this movie. The writing is awful. The tone of the movie is all over the place, especially when you get to the 3rd act. This movie is a humongous mess, and I feel really bad because I think Obi-Wan Kenobi, that was an accident. I think Ewan McGregor did a really good job, and I think he could have done an even better job. I just don't appreciate what this movie ended up being, and this movie should have been named Harley Quinn. But this movie was clearly a Harley Quinn movie. It's not a Birds of Prey movie at all, and I hate it! I hate it so much. But at least they gave us a cool version of Sway With Me, so I mean, at least there's that. In number 13, we have Black Adam with a 3.5. What's really funny is that I actually tried to watch this movie the other day because I just needed something on in the background, and I legit just skipped through to all of the action scenes because I just didn't care about any of the movie because I remembered how awful this movie actually truly is. This is one movie that I really wanted to give some hope, but no, this movie was just ridiculous in its plot. So much so that I would say that it's not only silly, but lazy. And Dwayne Johnson not including a wig? Come on, man. This guy doesn't really know how to produce, in my opinion. Maybe he does, but I don't really see him producing something that's fantastic as of yet. So, I mean, hey, maybe the live action Moana movie will be good. Who knows? But Black Adam was really dumb. Coming in at number 12 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom with a 4.5. What irony that a movie about Atlantis and water could turn out to be such a dumpster fire. This movie is insanely discombobulating in its ending. However, the real crime comes in its inability to choose a lane and stay in it. One minute this movie is a comedy, and another minute it's a family movie, and then it's a thriller, back to comedy, back to thriller, back to adventure, to somewhat horror movie, back to family adventure, and it's just not a fun thing to sit through. The movie does have some fun moments, but the VFX, in my opinion, have immensely digressed. There's this one really bad PS3 effects looking shot of Black Manta and Aquaman fighting in the third act that I thought was just absolutely disgusting to look at. It kind of reminded me of the third act fight in Black Panther between Killmonger and Black Panther himself, but then even worse. There's so much super obvious CGI. It's insane. People are getting on Marvel for bad VFX, but at least theirs are okay to look at. DC, it's just obviously CGI, and there's just no forgiving it. But speaking about Black Manta though, Black Manta is treated like an insane joke in this movie. This is Aquaman's arch nemesis. To me, that says that Walter Hamada and everybody involved in this movie never saw Aquaman or anyone in this movie as a thing for superhero movies. To this day, I say that James Wan can't write a movie that isn't a horror movie. He's fine and does well with horror, but with anything else, no, he does not. And I'm absolutely tired of villains not being villains and villains being evil because an object turns them evil. It wasn't me. It was the Darkhold. Oh no, it wasn't me. It was this dumb trident. No, it was you. Y'all chose to do that, Jason Momoa is also a writer for this movie, as well as a ton of other things, but come on guys, stop having your talent dictate and do things that is not part of their job. I hated that movie. Coming in at number 11 is Batman vs. Superman with a 5. This movie is divisive because you either hate it or you love it, and I hated it. I saw trailer number 2, that infamous trailer that started the trend of revealing just everything that happens in a movie. That trailer broke the internet by revealing Doomsday as part of this secret villain, and then revealing Wonder Woman and Batman all together, and everyone was just going crazy. Like, you didn't have to go see the movie. All you had to do was go see this 2.5 minute trailer, and then you saw the whole thing. I will say that the extended version is much better and does give this movie some semblance of watchability. However, we are going with the theatrical versions because the theatrical versions are the ones that exist and the ones that are canon. But I mean, still, both versions are pretty boring, but this movie is just insane. There's absolutely no way that Batman would ever win against Superman, and there's absolutely no way that Superman is this insanely idiotic as he is throughout this entire movie. It's so dumb. I hated it so much. Coming in at number 10 is David Ayer's Suicide Squad with a 6. This is another one that I was insanely hopeful for just because of the first trailer, and then I was sorely disappointed upon seeing the next trailer because I thought, oh no, that tone is different. And then when I saw the movie in the movie theaters, I was even more disappointed because I said, oh no. How was the movie? The way the movie feels for me is that it starts with its first act and then all of a sudden it just jumps right into its third act. There is no second act for this movie. The tone, the writing, all of it is pretty bad. The action is pretty okay, but I mean, this movie and The Beekeeper is they're two movies that I say that David Ayer cannot write dialogue or cannot write just people. He could do action pretty well, but when it comes to people and characters, not at all. Coming in at number 9 is Shazam, Fury of the Gods with a 6.5. Shazam 2 proves what I've been saying since Shazam 1, and I love Shazam 1, but I thought introducing the Shazam family in Shazam 1 was way too early because I think nobody knew where to go from here for Shazam 2 because everybody already had powers. Now, I mean, now what do you do? This movie felt a little childish, and Zachary Levi has no clue what he's doing with the Shazam character. He's basically trying to do a Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, and then there's Angel Asher, who is actually doing a fantastic job, and I feel really bad for him. Part of me wonders, what if they bring Angel Asher back as the adult version of Shazam? and then have an actual child be. I mean, so was Angel Asher, but they took way too long to do the things. Either way, Shazam 2 script was messy. It was all over the place, tonally, cheesy, and the jokes were awful. I hated all of this, so yeah, it's 6.5 for me. Coming in at number 8 is Aquaman with a 6.5 as well. Listen, I hated this movie, okay? I'm not sorry about it at all. This movie, like I said, James Wan has no idea how to make a movie. This movie is not a proper movie. Looking back and watching it again, the effects are actually pretty bad, but the overall Atlantis is pretty nice. It looks good. He does world building okay, but when it comes to telling a proper story, telling a solid, just contained story, it's awful. He uses fight scenes as transitions to the next scene, and it's like, bro, there's too many fight scenes. I actually watched this movie on a plane, and I skipped through a lot of the fight scenes because I was just bored. I was like, oh my god, again? No, absolutely not. By the time you get to the final battle, you're just like, why do I even freaking care? You have so many fighting. I just don't f***ing care at that point. I just think this movie is insanely boring. This movie and Aquaman 2 make me not want Jason Momoa as Lobo anymore. I don't think, just, if anything, just Daniel Radcliffe. Why not? Because I just don't want Jason Momoa in these movies anymore. I don't. I think Jason Momoa was a very good Aquaman. I just don't think he was written well at all. So now we're gonna go into the it's not good, but I like this section. Coming in at number 7 is The Suicide Squad with a 7. Listen, I enjoyed this movie for what it was. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed some of the humor. However, I had a lot of issues with the movie as well. I also really hated Star Wars design. I thought it was disgusting. I thought some of the themes were a little bit obvious and trite, and I'm very super not a fan of John Cena's Peacemaker. I will say, if his show can, persuade me otherwise, and I'm all for it, but his portrayal in this movie, I hate him. I don't like him. And then Rick Flagg's demise? Not cool, man. Not cool at all. I appreciate the movie and I think it's fun. I just don't think it's great. So a C- is really what I can give it. And then we have Wonder Woman 1984 at a 7.5. Now I understand a lot of people have issues with this movie for ethically, tonally, just writing wise, and I get it. This movie really is just all over the place. It's very silly, it's very goofy, but I kind of appreciated a lot of the silliness from the movie, a lot of the cartoon goofiness, because I thought, oh wow, this feels like a 1984 cartoon movie. And I feel like that's what Patty Jenkins was going for. However, a lot of the writing itself, for one, the movie is a little too long. 2, the movie needs a lot more action. If you're gonna be that long, you need some more action in there. 3, there's just so many ethical issues with this movie all throughout that it's hard to ignore. However, the scene where Diana renounces her wish, one of the most powerful scenes in superhero cinema, but also, I think it's also one of Gal Gadot's most powerful acting to date. I know this movie's not good, but I liked it. I can rewatch it. And now, my favorite 5. Coming in at number 5 is Shazam with 8.5. If I've said it once, odds are I've likely forgotten I've said it. But in the case of Shazam, I've said it many times. Shazam is a better Peter Parker story than, the MCU Spider-Man movies, at least. And I'll proudly die on that hill, because Shazam shows you what a teenager would do if he were to actually get superpowers, and I think it's great. Sure, the third act family bit is a little shoehorned in. Like I aforementioned, I think it was a terrible mistake for them to include the Shazam family this early, but other than that, I liked the humor. I liked the storytelling. Billy's story arc with his mother and accepting this new family and seeing that the family is the one who loves you truly, unconditionally. And that boardroom scene, oh my gosh, it was horrifying, it was terrifying, it gave me chills. I loved it. It was so good. I could not believe that they added that scene in this movie. It's to die for. It's such a shame that we got Fury of the Gods, man. Shazam deserved a better sequel. We wanted to see the caterpillar. What's with that caterpillar? Oh well. Coming in at number 4 is Blue Beetle with an 8.5. 9.7. I loved Blue Beetle. I cried a lot when I saw this movie. I think Blue Beetle is one of the best movies that DCEU has put out in a very long time. It feels both like a DCEU movie and not like a DCEU movie in the best way possible. The only reason why it gets number 4 on the list, of not any higher on the list, because I honestly thought that this might have been my favorite movie for the DCEU ever. The only reason is that this movie does have those twinges of streaming, and this movie isn't necessarily inventive or creative. This movie is just great, it's just safe, but it's really fun and it's awesome. It pulls in nostalgia element from other superhero movies that you've seen, like Black Panther and Iron Man and even Spider-Man. Ironically, none of the examples are from are from DC. But Jaime Reyes is astounding, and his family are so much fun to watch. Both he and his family are coming back for future installments in James Gunn's DCU. But I do love this movie so much. I wish I could give it higher, but I can't, because there's other ones that are a little bit better. I might get crucified for putting The Flash at 4th place or even this high on the list, because a lot of you feel like it doesn't deserve it, but I think it does. Yes, the VFX in this movie are really bad, and a lot of times it's so bad it's really hard to ignore. However, the story is amazing. The acting from Ezra Miller themselves is, oh my gosh. It's honestly mind-blowing to think that so much bad happened on this movie, and yet this movie came out. Or makes me take away a lot of points for this movie is its VFX. In essence, this movie is about a boy who lost his mom as a child, and then years later figures out that he has the chance to get his mom back. And then you see the consequences, the journey of that. And honestly, I appreciated this movie. Sure, it's not as good as the comic or the cartoon adaptation of this, because it's a live action. Of course it cannot be. But if you know the comic, then you can see, okay, that's supposed to be this is supposed to be that, that's kind of cool here, that's kind of cool there, oh, you're supposed to be this one, you're supposed to be that. It fits for me. Coming in at number 2 is Wonder Woman with a 9.3. I'll admit, this one was tough. This one was tough to debate between this and Man of Steel and Blue Beetle and The Flash, and I'm like, which one do I like the most? But here's the thing. I feel like Wonder Woman has such a rough third act that it is such a great launch, and then it just plateaus with the third act, with Ari's not being who Patty Jenkins wanted Ari's to be, and it kind of felt a little wonky, and it just the third act it's just not that great. It's not that great. But the movie is still beautiful. I can also watch and rewatch this one so much. From the moment it starts to the second it ends, the fact that this is true feminism and they support men as well, and the fact that Wonder Woman is exactly a hero. She is, oh my gosh, the embodiment of like a superhero. I love it. I love this movie so much. At 9.3, Wonder Woman gets the second spot on my list. And coming in at number 1 is a movie that maybe some of you will agree and some of you will not. And coming in at number 1, my favorite movie for the DCEU, it's Man of Steel with a 9.5. Listen, I did debate putting this one in my number 1 for one reason alone, and that reason is nostalgia. I'm not that big of a DC or even a Superman fan. However, when I saw this movie, I thought, like, damn, like this is the dichotomy, the struggle of Superman. Sure, he could have been a little bit more, Superman-y, but then when they turned him into just the perky, Captain America Superman in Josstice League and others, I just didn't really like that. Batman vs Superman was really bad as well, but then Man of Steel, I thought was just very interesting watch. I enjoyed it. The thing about Man of Steel for me is that when I saw that very first trailer that uses the Lord of the Rings soundtrack in it, that trailer ignited, it sparked in me the desire to write and to create and to have that handheld look for my own products. And so I went out and I wrote my very first short film, and I went to go film it to that same soundtrack, and it's called Time. I think it's still up. You can find it it on one of my channels. But that trailer and then that movie inspired me to continue to do a film and to continue down this realm of film and TV. And so I gotta give it to this film for initiating me. For initiating me, and I thank you, Zack Snyder, for giving us this film. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I do. I think it's a great dark version of Superman, the realistic version of Superman, I suppose. But it is exactly and everything that I was seeing. But I mean, I would be happy to have Superman that is like Zack Snyder's Superman plus Christopher Reeve's Supermans, like have a mixture of those. It would be cool. I think that then we would have a perfect Superman. But I think Man of Steel is really awesome. I think it's really good. The stakes are high. It was great. It was great for me. Sorry if you don't like it. I'm not sorry if you don't like it. Because I do. Well, that was it. That was all of the DCEU ranking. That was way longer than I thought it was going to be, but oh well. Let me know your ranking in the comments below. I'm very intrigued to know what you thought of my list and what your list is as well. Be sure to check out my Letterboxd and my Serialized, where I make written reviews on the TV and movies that I don't make videos on. And be sure to check out my Instagram and my Patreon for even more fun stuff as well. Links to all of those and my other social media links are in the description below, and I will see you next time. You've just been Montified.